Hi everyone, welcome to Showcase for iteration 28. Some of the highlights from this iteration are as follows. We've introduced a new feature called skip products on the AuraNot screen. With the skip products feature, you're now able to selectively choose to make products not take values and not put in any values. This was based on a JSI feedback that was received some time back. Apart from this, on the VRMIS front, we've added a synchronization progress bar, which gives you a better view of how the sync is happening with the server. This is when, after you've completed your distribution data, you want to sync it to the server. We fixed a major memory leak identified on the AuraNot page, wherein on every tab switch, we were leaking some memory. So we were able to optimize some of those memory fixes on the AuraNot page. Apart from this, we have documented on GitHub the environment setup. Our chef scripts have been documented, and someone who wishes to set up a VM can easily go through the documentation and set the VM up. We've also done some refactoring of the code base, leading to a reduced build time. Overall, in the iteration, we were able to complete 15 functional points. This was a decent iteration from us, given the fact that this was a major festive week, festive couple of weeks here in India. We had a lot of members taking leave, and yet we were able to finish 15 points. So on to the stories now. The first story that we will be showcasing is the email message for the user. For that, we are going to log in to our environment. And we're going to choose forgot password. I'm going to enter the username of the user for which I want the forgot password link sent, and I click on submit. I now check my registered email, and in a few moments you should notice that we've received the forgot password email. Clearly, so the story was about showing the username in the email. This was based on another feedback that was received after user testing. So clearly you can see that in the email, we are showing that what the current user's username is, and then we have a link to reset the user's password. The same thing happens when you create a new user. Such an email is sent and he can see what his username is. The second story is about it's about adding a new column to the AuraNot form. For that, we've added a new row in the requisition template. This row is called skip products. So we log in as our admin user. When we access the AuraNot template configuration screen, say we choose a program, essential meds. So as you can see, a new column called skip has been introduced. This column was introduced as part of another feedback received, wherein user might want to skip from entering values for a given product on the AuraNot page. This row is part of the template because an admin user may choose to enable it for a certain program while disable it in case he wants no one to skip any products. So another story that was played was to freeze the positions of the reference data columns on this AuraNot template. So the three columns, which are product code, product, and skip, have now been frozen in position on the AuraNot page. You cannot change their position. As you can see, the drag handles are only available for other columns, while for the regular columns, skip, product code, and product, you cannot change their position. Other columns can be dragged, but they cannot be moved to the top. So this story was about this. Now let's say we've enabled a skip column on our AuraNot template for essential meds. when I save this requisition template, now I can log in as my requisitioning user. Now, if I try to create an RNR for essential meth, as you can see, the skip column has been introduced on the RNR page. You can choose to skip a product using this. However, there are more stories which will implement this feature. Right now, this feature is only seen on the RNR form. In the coming stories that we will be playing, we will be actually able to skip products. So this feature has been introduced both for regular RNRs and emergency RNRs. The next story that we are showcasing is the requisition status feed. So I'll start by creating an RNR. So we've created a demo user who has been given rights for everything so that it is easier for a showcase purpose. So now we are showcasing the stories for the contract stream. There were a handful of stories that were done in this iteration. So we tried to create an RNR. So let's say we create an RNR for malaria. I initiate this for the Feb period. Now, if I check in my requisition status feed, I should get this RNR with its status in initiated state. So if we check for RNR ID 4 at the very bottom, we have a requisition status initiated. And as you can see, we have the RNR ID so that we could later use this ID to fetch the details for this RNR. That was another API that was built in this iteration itself. The user is able to query the requisitions details using this API. So let's say I fill in information for this AuraNot, submitted. And now if I check the status feed, I should get the submitted status also, and I do. So now if I want to query this RNR's details, I would simply hit this URL. I would say REST API / requisition / core.json. As soon as I hit this URL, I get this RNR's details. As you can see, it's for malaria. It's created, it's in a regular RNR. We have this period start date and everything. So this API will be used by contract if, as and when they receive the feed notification that a certain RNR has been initiated or submitted, they would want to query the details for that requisition. I am now going to quickly authorize this RNR, then approve it, approve it. So this seems to be taking a bit of time. I will come back to the screen in just a little bit. So as you can see, this RNR is now ready for approval. I choose to open this RNR. I can see the values entered by me. Say I change the approved quantity for this product. I give it 114. And I say approved. Now if I check the API, now as you can see, the quantity approved at the end of the screen is 114 as entered by me. So clearly this API can be used to retrieve all the details for the RNR. It also shows you the current status that the RNR is in. You can now choose to do the second level of approval. The network seems to be a little laggy and it seems to be taking a bit of time. Soon we will be able to load the RNR. So we're trying to access the approved screen again. We should be able to do the second level of approval for this RNR.
This was a quick switch to an Ethernet to a wired network connection.
Yes. We're going to try a different browser. All right, so we choose this RNR, and as you can see, this RNR has our previously filled approved quantity. I will do the second level of approval on this RNR, and this RNR was approved. I will now go and convert this RNR into order. And the RNR has now been converted to order. Now we also built an API to confirm a POD, which is basically a proof of delivery. I will use the service called Postman to showcase that. So the RNR ID was 4. I will hit the URL. And as you can see, I have in the product code, I've entered an invalid code. The system now handles on a confirmed delivery API. It handles that an invalid product code is errored out, and a subsequent error message is displayed back, is sent back. So if we try to hit this API, so as you can see, it says that the code invalid is in fact invalid. Now let's correct the code, and instead I am going to mess up the quantity received for this product. As soon as I hit send, as you can see, it gives you a bad request error. So clearly you need to send the correct value for all the products. So I say 112 for this RNR. I hit send, and it says that the POD has been updated successfully. So this was another API that was built for contract.
Yeah, so this API will be used once requisition cycle is complete and CHW or the community has received their replenishment order. Then they will use this API to confirm this delivery, and contract system will use this API to submit all the received quantity for the order that CHW has received. And once we've received all the received quantities, we'll make the order status as received, as we can see in our view orders.
So as soon as we try to access the view order screen, as you can see that for order number 4 for program malaria, the order status is now received. So which means that the POD was successfully updated. The next API is about managing a program and requisition group for a virtual facility. These virtual facilities will be created
Yeah, so actually basically deals with as soon as a virtual facility is created in system. So for supporting the replenishment process, OpenLMIS needs certain data like what are the programs supported by the CHW group, to which requisition group that CHW belongs. So as soon as a virtual facility is created, we'll propagate these attributes from its parent in order to support the replenishment process. So we'll try to create one virtual facility, and we can see in our screen that facility has propagated most of the attributes from its parent, so that it can start requisitioning.
So we are first going to check out the parent facility. If you see, the facility F10 has a facility type of warehouse. It has certain programs that it's supporting, TB, essential meds, malaria vaccines, and it belongs to geographic zone district 1. Now we will create a virtual facility with this facility F10 as its parent. So the endpoint for this API is /REST API /agents.json, and we accept a post call. So in the body of the post, as you can see, we are saying that the parent facility code is F10 and certain other attributes that belong to the virtual facility. So let's say we are creating this virtual facility as virtual facility 1, and I hit send. So it says that the CHW has been created successfully. We can quickly switch back to our facility screen to check out whether all the attributes have been propagated from the parent or not. So clearly you see that this virtual facility shows up in our search result. So it has the facility type copied from the parent. The same programs are supported by the virtual facility, as well as the geographic zone. So apart from these, also the requisition group memberships have been copied for this facility, which means that this facility will be a part of the same requisition groups as is the parent, and hence will be able to create requisitions for its requisition group. The next story that we'll be discussing is the VRMI story, which is for displaying sync progress. I have certain data cached, which I can use. To access my distribution screen, so I'll quickly recache the data. So I say not there, and I say initiate. I choose to record data. So I'll fill in data for a couple of facilities. I say that I want to this facility has turned green. I will fill in data for another facility. Now I can visit my manage distribution screen and choose to sync this data. It gives me a pop-up asking if I am sure. I say OK. And if you were able to see, there was a progress bar which will be filled with each facility that is getting synced to the server. This network was possibly a bit fast than the than the regular networks that we will be facing. So that was not very visible. So as you can see, a couple of facilities have been synchronized to the server. Facility F8A and facility F8B have been synchronized. There were some cases that were identified during the story, which were about what happens if the same facilities are tried to be synced by multiple users, one after the other. So those cases have been handled. I will quickly show that. I will recache the same data. I will fill in the data for an already synced facility. If you remember, F8A was already synced.
It was the same distribution.
And it belonged to the same zone, which means it was basically the data for the same facility program period delivery zone. So now I hit my manage distribution screen. I try to sync the data again. It asks me to confirm. I say OK. And as you can see, you get a message saying that this facility has already been synced and it has turned gray. There was another case that was identified which might not be possible to be shown here, which is if during the sync the network goes down. In that case, the user is notified that a particular synchronization has failed and he is given an appropriate error message and told to retry. So these were basically all the stories that we were going to showcase in this iteration.
So any feedback and questions you can forward to Ron, and then we work on that.
Thank you all. Good job.
Thanks a lot.